The most ironic thing about those interactions, I have found that sometimes the revenue or the income or the referral comes from the place that you least expect it.
It's not really the tip, it's the relationship that's built along with whatever you're doing.
But I think you have to put yourself in the position for it to happen.
I had a conversation with my kid yesterday. He's like, oh, this bill and that bill. And I'm like, bro, just shut up and do it.
Welcome to Keep Hustling with. Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. #Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. And of course, now and always, keep hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Paul Mikel. Paul, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You are the only guest in 150 episodes to, before we go live, tell me that you've already completed a round of golf today. So I don't care how long or short it was. I just want you to know that. And you said, and we're going to just segue right in, you said that you're originally from Fort Worth, Texas,
Yep.
where the nice people are. And you're taking a born and bred New Yorker where the not nice people are, and you're really testing me off the bat. So I feel like you kind of, I'm not, again, to the listeners, I hope you enjoy this episode, but it has the potential to be the most aggressive one from my side.
I already made you angry for my daily activities.
Yeah, and if you're watching, I just thank God he didn't use the background of the golf course behind him, because like then I really would have been pissed.
That would have been bad.
Paul.
Yes, sir.
Texas, Florida, the journey, take us there, give us, the bird's eye view. And then I really just want to get into, I love your book and the topics. And as I mentioned before we came on, in the show notes, everyone should check out Paul's book, Shut Up and Tip, which I want to talk about, but give us the background.
So I was born and raised in Texas. My parents were Southern Baptist missionaries. I was raised to be a pastor and to go do public speaking and that kind of thing. And I tell people it kind of didn't work out for me because I like the F word way too much. And but I grew up waiting tables in a country club in Fort Worth, Texas. And going back to golf for a second, my son says I'm older than dirt, but my first job was in a country club waiting tables on the Tiger Woods of the golf day at that time, a guy named Ben Hogan. I waited tables on him and his wife. And, when you're 21, 22
God,
years
I hate you. God, I hate you.
But listen, you won't, because the fact is, I thought it, when you're that young, you don't really realize what you got in front of me. So you don't take advantage of it. So I was waiting tables on him and his wife. I ended up kind of being his personal assistant for a year and a half, which people think is amazing, except the fact that he took me on the golf course twice. He was at kind of towards the end of his life, put me on the driving range and shredded me for about 15, 20 minutes. And I didn't play golf again for 25 years.
I paid him to do that, by the way.
Yeah, well, that was nice of you. I appreciate it. But, it's funny because I grew up and I started, like, the reason why I got into writing this book, and we can get to that later, but was like, I just realized that when you take care of people and make them feel better about themselves, and it can be a tip in all kinds of different ways. And I started out working for tips. And so I just have spent my whole life trying to bring value to other people, whether it be in business, tipping, anything. So it's kind of just, and it went along with that with my parents too, coming from that background of being missionaries and, giving value to people and helping people without expecting anything in return. And it's kind of always played out for me.
I'll tell you the most, and I'm sure we're going to get into this further. First, the most ironic thing about those interactions are that I have found that sometimes the revenue or the income or the referral comes from the place that you least expect it, meaning the relationship that you assume is 100% charitable.
Right.
It didn't come in as a sales lead, and you're just helping the person out. Somehow, like their uncle somewhere needs your service, and like a year later, they're like, and it wasn't even like you're thinking when I help someone just for the sake of helping, then it may come back. You're like, this person, there's no way this person is ever going to help me.
That's
100%. And
100%.
somehow those things come back, and it's really unbelievable. I usually wait, but I have so much to talk to you about. So I just want to, I love reading items of bios because I think they're really cool. So we're talking about the book is about a blueprint, and I've really never gotten into the books, but I think I know where we're going here. Um, it's a blueprint for building stronger relationships, creating unforgettable experiences, increasing influence, and discovering that generosity is one of the most overlooked competitive advantages in business and in life. And I want to talk about generosity for a minute because most people think that generosity is only are only fully charitable endeavors.
Right.
And my father used to rest in peace. We've been in the insurance business now for close to 60 years, our family. My father was a world renowned medical malpractice insurance expert. And one of the first projects he had me do early in my career was an analysis of state regulations and impact of what were called apology laws. Meaning, could a physician, when there was a negative outcome in a medical case, be held liable or look at a quote unquote admission of guilt from
Okay.
apologizing? And it's a really amazing thing. It's an amazing thing because we're not talking about a blatant breach of standard of care.
Right.
We're talking about, and the example that I give is I can't remember the name of the television show. I'm getting older, and you get vitamin D because you golf. I don't, so my brain is like all fogged. But yeah, we're just gonna keep going with that. By the way, there was a show in New York about a real show about physicians, and there's this great. I use this in my sales classes to physicians, where basically this guy tells this family's mother and grandmother that she has operable stomach cancer.
Okay.
Operable. And he basically says this is gonna be the process, blah, 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 blah. And they go into the hospital and the whole family's there. It's one of these great eclectic, New York's type families. They're all in the waiting room. He goes to operate. The show follows him into the operating room and he opens up the woman's stomach and it's far worse than he ever could have seen on the scan. And he goes back and comes to meet with her and the family and says, "I'm so sorry. We couldn't help you." And she takes his head and she puts it in her lap, like in her chest. And she says, "It's okay, baby. I know you tried." To the physician.
Right.
Now, the reason why to me that's so powerful from a medical perspective, having nothing to do with medicine or from a personal perspective, is that clearly the experience that was created by that physician before the quote unquote negative outcome was one that led to a compassionate response on the negative side when something negative happened. And when I was
Right.
thinking about this conversation today, that's what I was thinking about. That planting the seeds of a good customer experience, a generous customer experience, a generous view on life bears fruit so far in the future if you drop those seedlings along the way.
Right. I mean, this one story that kind of personifies that is, and I wasn't doing this for a reason. I went through a divorce about 16 years ago, ended up becoming a single parent, raising a 10-year-old boy. I was working a lot of hours because that kid wanted to eat every single day. I know you have 5 kids, so I know you know that. I mean, they want to eat every single day, which I
It's
think is
unbelievable. And by the way, crazy thing, they want to eat more than once every day.
that's exactly true.
Damn, and a snack before bed. Holy
Right, right.
smokes.
And so I was raising this, my son, he was 11 years old, and I didn't have a lot of free time. I'd get up in the morning, I was running my businesses, I'd take him to school, get home, do all those things. So every day after I'd be done, I'd have about 45 minutes to an hour before I got done pick him up. And I'd go to this one restaurant, kind of an outside bar restaurant, and I would tip this server, a young lady named Kelsey, $20 every single time, whether I even got anything. Sometimes I get a water, just, I'd meet a friend there, do some business there. Every single time I would give her $20. And then she ended up introducing me to the GM of the place. And then he and I became friends over time. He was running a business, I was running a business, and not even anything then. This is like 7 years later. He started another restaurant, introduced me to the owners of that restaurant, who I had another business partner. We came together. We built something during the pandemic that was able to help small businesses and do about $2 billion in revenue in less than about 24 months. But it was because of something I did how many years before, like you said, not expecting anything to come out of it. And, I've always found that when I try to expect something and do something, a lot of times it doesn't work out. But when you don't expect it and you don't try to make things happen, a lot of times they just happen.
But I think you have to put yourself in the position for it to happen. And I
Right.
think that that's very
100%.
often, and it's almost like I love talking about. I didn't know I was going to be so passionate about talking about tipping, but talking to you, we're going to talk a lot about it. But I think it's more of the mindset of being able to give that to somebody else. And by the way, we're not even talking. I assume you're not telling the average person to drop $1,000 tip on a $10 dinner. You know these like magical stories that you hear of people's tuition being paid off. But I think there's something about. I was in a restaurant recently, and the menu, the price. I didn't remember the prices being so high. It was a
Right.
nice steakhouse, kosher steakhouse in New York, and the prices were outrageous. And then I read the bottom of the menu, and it says, "We have increased our food costs on the menu, our the cost of our food exponentially, so that our staff doesn't have to worry about tips living on gratuity. We've increased their wage to the top in the industry, and therefore we've passed that on to you in the cost of food." That's basically, so the basic message was these people are being paid incredibly well, and you should have a great experience, and I did.
Right.
But I almost felt like this person, the waiter, we had this interaction, and I felt weird not tipping at the end. Now, I was in this weird place because it was like, you told me I didn't have to. You told me that this person's being overpaid and therefore you're overcharging me, but is he getting it? And then the bill came, and it was the only restaurant I had ever been in my entire life that didn't have a line for the tip.
Oh man.
Usually, the ones that already charge gratuity try to get you again on the back end. No
Right.
line for the tip. So now you're left in this question. So because I'm a New Yorker and I'm not a nice person from Nowheresville, Texas, like you are, I I call over the waiter. I say, "Hey, what's the tips?" He says, "Cat, I get all they wanted cash." So we dropped some cash and that was it. And I don't think it would have been as much as we would because of the whole thing.
Right. Right.
But I think that when someone serves you and gives the experience, and I know a lot of people are not like this. I was raised the same way you were. You want to be gracious. And it's almost like passing it forward, and then they'll be better to the next person, and you'll be better to the next person, and everybody wins. And again, I'm not saying that that means that a person should be overly generous so that they can't pay their own bills. That's not what I'm saying.
No, 100% no. But the thing I believe 100% too, it's not even just the money a lot of times. Like I've tipped, I mean, where I live in a high rise. I take care of the valet. I mean, sometimes it gets pretty expensive. You're tipping all these different people and it becomes expected of you. But I also know if I ever need anything, I don't have to ask. It's done before I ever ask. And that's a great feeling. And if I ever ask to help with one of my guests or something of that nature. And it's not just about the money, it's about building that relationship. I've had people that I've tipped in restaurants and people that I've built a relationship with that have later on come to help run companies that I own because I saw their work ethic, I saw how great they were, I saw how they didn't expect anything. And then they come to work with me. And I've got one of the guys that he started working with me when he's 17 years old, now owns 4 companies with me and out earns me, but it was because I built that relationship. So when I say shut up and tip, it's not really the tip, it's the relationship that's built along with whatever you're doing.
It's give after the service, or give in spite of the service, or give in. By the way, underrated life hack: when you go to places like the valet, tip when you get there, not when you leave.
100%. I was
The
going to say
person,
that. When I
the
first
person
get
is
there, a lot of
useless to you.
times,
The person is no. I don't mean this that they're useless, but like
no,
my father, he told me this all the time. When you go on, like, you go to a hotel, and there's the person that's going to be helping you, or you go anywhere. Restaurants, it doesn't work as well because it kind of comes with the bill. But I think there's other type of experiences. If you tip on the way in, they know you took care of them. They actually want to be gracious and grateful to you. On
100%.
the way out, they have to remember the next time you show up.
When I go out and I know my bill is going to be 100, $200, whatever it is, and I know it's going to be 20% or more, I'm going to hand the person a 20 the minute I sit down, because guess what? That's going to get me the service. Obviously you want to give on top and you want to be gracious, but like you just said, when I walk in and I start going anywhere, if I valet in town, I'll give these guys $20 when I get there because my car will be out front when I get done. Like it just makes my life easier. And on top of that, it's not just the money, it's that they remember me.
And I'll
That
tell you
they
something interesting. I don't think a lot of people say that's a scam. Oh, Paul wants to make sure his car's in front, and the guy feels bad, so therefore there's no. You don't say that your car has to be in front, right? Meaning, and you're not even. There are people who say, "Hey, here's some money. Make sure it's in front." I don't like those people, but I
me
think
either.
that what happens is a few hundred people pass by. One person takes the time to say, "Hey, how are you? Thanks again for your help." and they're going to say, "I want to help Paul."
Listen,
Not that I feel negatively about everybody else that's standard,
right.
but like this person just put themselves in the next sphere. I got to ask, how do you think this mindset take us to the business owner, take us to the person who makes this part of their life and says, how does that then impact me if I'm gracious to hustle or to build a better business or a better experience?
You're talking about on the side of the person being tipped or the person.
The tipper, meaning as you develop that type of
I
mindset.
will tell you, like I just said with the server, she introduced me to people. I've had people that have like, I live on a little island here, and there's a gentleman that owns a bunch
On a golf
41
course, for those who don't know.
41 Marriotts. And one of the bartender at the Marriott 2 doors down from me one night called me and goes, "Hey, I've been trying to get you to meet this guy for 6 months. And he wanted me to meet him, wanted me to meet him, wanted me to meet him. And because of the relationship I built with him, he trusted me. He knew I wasn't going to hit this guy up for money or try to do business with him or whatever. And I just made a good friendship with this guy, and it may never turn into anything. But what I found is the people that are in the service industry, they come in contact with the best people on earth, the most successful. They're the people they know who's, not in charge, but people that are in the know, people that hear the newest thing coming out. If I ever said to anyone that I know around here, said, "Hey, I'm looking for this," they're going to know the best one in that industry. If I need somebody to help with my business or my cars or my accounting or, insurance or any of that, these people know it. And because I built that real relationship with them, they're going to turn me on to the best people.
So you mentioned that it's not always about tip or monetary, or the traditional monetary tip, and then there's the uh, what I'll call, correct me if I'm wrong, the emotional tip that
A
kind of
100%.
creates the relationship. What's the hack there? Like, how can a person become better? And by the way, again, I think we're going to agree that a person who practices what you're preaching it's selfish because they'll become better.
100%. Like when I first started tipping when I was younger and I didn't really have money, I did it because it made me feel good. That was the selfishness. I'm like, oh, look at me. I can do this, I can do that. And then as time went on, it wasn't just about, my mentor taught me one of the things he said was, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I started really practicing that. And it's now, if I walk downstairs to the ballet guys or somebody that works at the front desk, I know about their kids. I know about their family. I know questions to ask about hey, how's this going? How's that going? So you form this kind of almost a muscle memory that like it's natural to me. It's not just about money, but when I walk into a restaurant and I've taken care of other people, not necessarily monetarily, but I built that relationship with them, they're introducing me to other servers. Hey, make sure you take care of Paul and his family. Make sure this happens. Look out for his kid when he comes in here. Like those type of things. And it's not only gone into, my son got in a really bad car wreck one night about 6 years ago, and 3 in the morning I looked at my phone, and it was somebody that I hadn't talked to in 5 years who was an officer. But I stopped at a golf tournament here, once again back to golf, but here at a golf tournament, and I got to speak to this gentleman, and we had a 15-minute conversation. He remembered my last name because it spelt weird, and knew that my kid was in a car wreck, went through his phone at 3:30 in the morning and called me and had somebody come pick me up so I didn't have to drive to go make sure my son was okay. So
I'll tell
that
you what
was
I
just
love
the
about that
start.
story. What I love about that story is that that's a lifestyle. That's the lifestyle that they say that that's luck, right? Luck, that officer that remembered you, blah blah blah. Your name is spelled weird, blah blah blah. You put that all together, but you create the luck by putting all those things together.
Right.
You
And
don't.
the officer knew that it wasn't fake when we had that conversation.
But
I
that's what
made
I'm saying. Meaning, and it couldn't been nothing. But if you put the have the name that's spelled a little weird, the guy knows that you live there. The guy remembers you took the time. It's stuck in the guy's head. All that stuff. The luck happens and it comes together.
right.
The I'm just gonna give a king tip because we're talking about like life hacks here about tipping and getting ahead. My father had this great thing in his phone book, in his address book. A lot of people do this. He would have your name, and in the notes, he would have your secretary's name, and the day where nobody worked for him. Now, his double hack was the information about the secretary. Everybody knows the boss's kids, and once they say, "Hey, Paul, how's your son doing? How's it going? How's the golf game?"
Right.
And everybody might know that and I might remember that your secretary's name is Jan. But what happens when I call Jan and I need to get on your schedule and I ask her about Bill, her son, who was in high school? Or I
Right.
ask her if the bowl of he used to do this, he used to write with what they had on their desk. And he would say, "Hey, you need a refill on those Mike and Ike's?
Right.
Still eating the Mike and Ike's, Jan?" If there's 5 minutes on your calendar, I'm getting it.
Absolutely. Same
There's
thing. When you're talking
again,
about cars being up
she's not.
front,
You know what I'm
when you're
saying? She's not. She,
sorry, when you're talking about the cars being up front, it's not because I want it, I asked for it or anything. It just happens because, like you said, if there's 5 minutes on the calendar, you're getting it. You
again,
know,
if you're in Kathmandu, she can't put me on your calendar, but if she can, she's going to.
right.
I got to ask you about shut up. Tell us about the
I
shut
just
up
wanted
before
to
the
get
tip.
attention. That's it. I
Well,
was like, you know what? Like my first book was called "I Don't Need Your Help" and other shit I tell myself, because that was it. It was all about networking and how many people, So it's like I believe in this day and age, you got to get people's attention, and I thought "Shut Up and Tip" would get it, and so that was really as deep as it went.
interesting. Because I was thinking a lot of people complain about the things that they just have to do and the things that they are supposed to do. And very often people confuse have to, expected, and want to. And I think to me, when I saw Shut Up and Tip, was just do the things. Just do it. Shut up and exercise. Shut up and put in the work.
You know what?
And
That's a great. Now I'm stealing that meaning behind it because that's 100% the truth. It's like I had a conversation with my kid yesterday. He's like, "Oh, this bill and that bill," and I'm like, "Bro, just shut up and do it." Like,
and by the way, complaining about it doesn't help anybody. And
right?
that doesn't mean that
Doesn't
when
fix
something
anything.
really bad happens, you can't complain. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like so many people and the most successful entrepreneurs that I've met, again, 150 episodes of this podcast, are the ones who at a certain point just have to shut up and do it. That doesn't mean every day. I think if every single day a person is miserable or not feeling fulfilled or wants something else, then they have to have another conversation. But at a
Right,
certain point, when you put your mind to it and you want to hustle and you want to do something, you want to achieve a dream or you want to build a relationship, you want to do something, you just gotta shut up and do the things that you have to do. It's like, I don't know about you, but for me, we discussed it before, the most rewarding thing in the world is being a parent.
right,
But you know
100
what? Sometimes you gotta shut up and take care of them in the middle of the night.
That's right,
Sometimes you just gotta shut up and deal with the stuff that you don't have to. And then you get all the reward. But it's
right,
the people who are unwilling to do that, or unwilling to face that little bit of discomfort, unwilling to go out of their comfort zone and just do it,
right.
that will never get there.
Right. It's like you just got to put up with the pain to get where you want to go. And it's not, it's like even it's so funny. People think when you become a little successful and you get more money that the problems go away. No, the problems just get bigger. But, it's like you can never feel sorry for yourself. It's like I put up on my face. I was on the way to golf and I saw this thing today on Facebook. Sorry, I keep saying that. I don't want you to come down
He
here and beat
wasn't
me
on his
with
bed. He
my
wasn't. Yeah, I'm gonna beat you with a golf. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna have to invite you down and we'll have
But
to play a bunch of
I'm gonna
rounds.
go, listeners, loyal listeners. Maybe we'll do a live stream. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna play golf with Paul. And by the way, I'm not a great golfer, but
Me either.
God is gonna be on my side that day. I'm gonna smoke him.
Listen, you wouldn't
Smoke
need
him.
God on your
I'm
side.
gonna smoke you.
It wouldn't be hard. So, but one of the things I saw on Facebook today, they had Mexi Melts like for $1. There was some advertisement at Taco Bell, and part of it was in my brain. I was like, you know what? That reminds me when I was broke and I had no money, and I could put together. This is back when they were like 60 cents. I could put a little bit of money together, and I could eat Mexi Melts every day, and I did that for a long time. But it reminded me to stay humble, to stay hungry. Never want, at the end of this, I'll have a quote. I won't say it now, but it just reminded me to never get so full of myself that I don't remember what it's like to be a server. I don't remember what it's like to be a valet person. Like I've done valet. I used to tell people when I did seminars, I used to drive $100,000 cars, but I drive them 40 feet. So I was not that great of a person. I was just like, I wanted that. I wanted more. And like you said, you got to shut up. You got to do it. You got to keep hustling like your podcast. All those things come into play.
And I'll tell you what I just thought about, which is super interesting, is when you leave the tip, your brain, consciously or subconsciously, thinks about the recipient. And there's probably something to, and I'm listening to you, and this is kind of getting ingrained in me. And then you remember, consciously or subconsciously, when you were the person who dreamed of the tip, when you were the person who needed the tip in order to buy your new pair of shoes that you always dreamed of. And now you may or may not think of the shoes because you need a new pair of shoes and you just spend the money on them. But and then you get into the gratitude cycle, and then you get into the remembering and seeing the journey. And for me, one of the things that this whole keep hustling lifestyle and podcast and everything is about is realizing that so often people don't see the mountain that they've climbed behind them. In so many episodes, I've mentioned this image that I love of the guy who's pushing the rock and he's almost at the top.
Yes, I
And when
love
you
that.
zoom out, you can see that he's almost at the top, but then he gives up. But there's no way that if the guy was able to hold the rock with one hand and turn around and look and see this massive hill, he has no idea what's in front of him, but see this massive mountain that he's climbed, that he wouldn't be inspired to continue to go. And I think that part of the tipping and gratitude and being gracious and kind is it forces you to hark back to those moments.
Right.
And that can give you just a
100%.
little bit of jet fuel. And I think, and you're a much more successful entrepreneur than I am, but I
No.
agree or disagree that it's those moments of a little bit of jet fuel that carry you to the next level, that carry you to that ultimate success, that carry you to that experience.
It's so true that you say that. Like even now, like it's like things go really well, but I don't care. Like I said, the bigger your success, the bigger the problems, and it can come crashing down in a moment. If everything doesn't work right, you put a lot of money into things. I mean, I tell people all the time, I've lost more money in businesses than most people have ever started. Because that's what happens. I'm just a serial entrepreneur. I see an idea and I go for it. I may not know anything about it, but I'm like, you know what? I'll figure it out as we go. And I just keep that humbleness in me going, you know what? I don't deserve to be where I'm at. I deserve to be a waiter in a country club now, 20, 30 years later. And not that that's a bad thing, but like because I was willing to take chances, because I was willing to hustle, because I was willing to, get my ego out of the way, learn from other people. I mean, I think one of the reasons I even write a book is because I don't think anyone when I was growing up thought I could actually read one, much less write one. So it's these things like you're saying, it's like even today, like I had some pretty big challenges in one of my businesses and I was looking at it going, man, why am I doing this? Why? And then just you saying that, going, holding that rock and turning around and going, man, but look how far you've come. Look at where you're at. You're a single parent. You did this. And I think what you're saying is true. A lot of people don't give themselves any credit. They're always just in the muck and the mire instead of holding that rock and turning around and going, I'm not that bad. Now I got to keep going. I got to overcome this problem, but I'm not that bad. I'm doing well. I just got to keep going. So I think that was really inspiring for me to hear from you.
Well, I'm inspired by you. In spite of your choice of morning golf when I'm sitting here and whatever.
Can I tell you
What?
one last story about tipping?
Please. No, I'd love to hear it. Yeah, let's go.
I ended up having COVID. I was one of those people during COVID that was like, let me get it. I don't care. Nothing's going to happen to me. And then I got it. I ended up in the hospital for 11 days, almost passed away. They didn't put me on a ventilator, thank goodness. But I'm in the hospital and there was a young man, and I think I'm successful. I think they're going to put me in this private wing. They're going to put me away from people. And during COVID, that didn't happen. I'm in a hospital room with a young gentleman who's about 6'3", young kid. I could tell he had developmental issues a little bit. And I was like, really, God, this is where you're going to put me? Like, this is what I'm going to have to deal with. Little thin curtain in between us. And it was funny because in the middle of the night, he had a little TV on, and out of the darkness, I don't know if you know what Popeye's chicken is, but they have those around the country. And out of the darkness, I realized he would sing songs over and over, like Rain Man from the movie In the Day. And out of the darkness, I hear him go, I love that chicken from Popeyes. And I just started laughing. I'm like, all right, God, I get it. Whatever it is you're trying to teach me, I'm going to get it. And I started worrying more about him because he was in the hospital. He didn't have his family there. He was from a group home, but he was worried about me. Every time I coughed, he would freak out. He had TV shows that he wanted to watch at certain times. And he would, like, if they didn't work, I would find a way to put it on my phone. So we really started taking care of each other. And I started listening to him sing songs, and he started singing songs from a guy named Post Malone. You may have heard that name.
Sure.
And I was like, when you're in the hospital, you start making all these deals with God. I'll never do this again. I'm gonna do this. And in my head, I was like, if I get out of here, I started listening to the music. Didn't know who he was. Didn't know he was a Dallas Cowboys fan like I am. That's probably another notch against me with you, being from New York. But Post Malone was a Dallas Cowboys fan, but I didn't know he had all these tattoos on his face. But I started listening to the lyrics before I knew who he was, so I hadn't judged him. And then I was like, man, he's from Texas, a Cowboys fan. You know what? If I get out of here, I'm gonna make it my goal to meet this guy. And so I started going to shows. I was spending a bunch of money. And then come to find out, one of my customers in one of my stores years ago that I kept in contact with played football against Post Malone's road manager. They were coming to West Palm Beach. And they introduced me. They didn't ask me for anything. They didn't ask for money. But his road manager, I said, listen, I know people come to you for everything. They want to get backstage. They want to meet this guy. I'm not asking for any of that stuff, but I want to take care of you because you already said you get us tickets. I gave him a couple $1,000s. That guy took me straight backstage. I got to meet Post. The next night, he invited me up to Tampa. I went to Tampa, and instead of being all fanned out about Post, I started talking to his manager. I said, let me ask you a question. Like, where did you came from? Where did you come from? How did you get this job? And he said, well, I used to be in not so legal trades. And he's like, I said, so how did you get to this? He goes, well, I became his security. Then I just started learning on Justin Bieber tour. I learned how to be his road manager. And I said, well, tell me about your whole business. And he started telling me about how they had 17 trucks. He took care of everybody on the road, all these different things, all the workings of being on a tour. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. How much does he get on a nightly basis? And that time was years ago when he wasn't as big as he is now. He said like 3 to 5 million probably in a night. I said, so Jay, let me say something to you. You run a $3 to $5 million a night business. I don't run a $3 to $5 million a night business. And it was the tip was not in the money. The tip was in me recognizing how hard he had worked to get to where he is. Now he and I are best friends. I travel the world with these guys to play golf, hang out, like get to do stuff. And it was because of that relationship that you could call the tip, not the money, and that's what I want people to understand. It's like my relationships with people have gotten me way further, and not in monetarily, but just in a richness of life.
And got you, and still haven't gotten you off the Dallas Cowboys.
I know. You'll hate this.
By the way, I'm starting to put in my show requests like, where are you from? Do you play golf? What do you do in your spare time? And
I just made your whole questionnaire.
I know. I take it back, loyal listeners. When I meet Paul for golf, he's gonna end up in a lake somewhere.
That's all right.
That's with the New York attitude.
Listen, you don't have to worry. Y'all have won Super Bowls way since we have, unless you're
not me. I'm a Jet fan.
Oh, you and Gary Vaynerchuk.
You know what? And then we got to wrap up. But my son is almost 10, and he went to his first game 3 years ago, and it was just a bad loss. They were winning, and then I told them they were going to lose, and then they lost. And in the car on the way out, I said, "Listen, this is your chance, man. You can give up the Jets. I'm okay with it. You can find another team. Can't be the Patriots, can't be the Giants, but like you're young enough, and I won't call you a fair weather fan. We'll figure it out." And give him up, man. He goes, no, I'm with you. And then like last season, he's like, I don't know. I know I can't now, but I wish I did.
My son was born in Florida, raised a Cowboys fan, and one day when he's about 15, he goes, this is child abuse, right?
That's not. Tell him he could have been a Jet fan. Give him my number. Tell him he could have been a Jet fan.
Awesome.
Mike, Paul, this has been absolutely awesome. I was looking at that Mike because the weird spelling.
Yeah,
Mike,
all right.
Paul, Michael, Paul, two first names, everything else. I'm inspired by this. I'm inspired by the book. Everyone should check out the book. It'll change your life. It'll change your perspective on things. And that's the most important thing. As you know, Paul, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where we ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational, inspirational quote and what it means to them and to their hustle. So with that, I'm going to say thank you again for being here. Thank you again for taking the time out of your incredibly busy golf schedule to share your wisdom with me and our listeners. And the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Well, my favorite quote has always been, never forget where you came from, or you're probably on your way back there. Because I know so many people who get successful and they forget what it took to get them there, the people that it took, and then they start thinking it was them. And my mentor always told me, don't ever believe the hype that people say, because it's really not true. Without people, you'd have never got where you are.
Absolutely love that. No better way to close. This has been another episode of keep hustling. Remember, do well by doing good. And of course, and always, keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.